Get this 11 to 1 weekdays on the Triple M network.
Myself, Tony Martin, that'd be Ed Cavalier.
Hello, hello.
Richard Marsland could push a button or two.
How you doing,
Impressed. How are we all this morning?
Good.
I know you're recoiling in horror.
We're not as George Hamilton-esque as you.
I'm
today.
on my way to George Hamilton. I've gone completely red.
Yeah, what's happened, Tone?
I went outside, Ed.
What have I told you about that?
I haven't been outside
Were you
for
wearing your
years.
Legionnaire's hat?
No.
Did you have your zinc on?
I must have only been out there for about 5 minutes. It was actually, not trying to name drop, but Mr. Marsland and myself were at Cal Wilson's engagement barbecue yesterday.
Big weekend.
And people were just laying strips of bacon on my head by the end of it. The great thing is if I take my glasses off, you can see a glasses-shaped outline on my face. That'll be catching on.
But I tell you what was interesting is that I saw it happening and I didn't have the guts to go up to Tony and say, you might want to step into the shade because at the moment it's a little lobster-like.
Why not?
There's
I don't know.
smoke coming off my head and nobody said anything.
Well, I was saying to Nikki, the producer of the show, who was also at the soiree,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I should say something because I'm not his mum, and is it sort of the friend's duty to say, hey, listen, step into the shade for a while because you're crisping up?
Look, I just didn't realise. It's years since I went outside. It's a lot hotter out there, Ed.
It's a lot hotter,
It's a
Tone.
lot more dangerous.
You can't get burnt in movie theatres, Tone.
That's right.
That's the weird thing.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Speaking of movie theatres, we've had a fantastic email from Daniel,
What's up, Daniel?
who went along to see Casino Royale with James Bond.
Okay.
And he said during the scene where James Bond is being tortured, as he so often is, he's nude and tied to a chair with the seat cut out of it.
Yeah.
And then the bad guy has a huge bit of rope with a knot in it
Yeah.
and just keeps whacking him in the nads.
Yeah.
When this happened the first time, someone at the back of the theatre couldn't resist going, "Oh, they plums!"
Yes! It's catching.
So if you're going to see Casino Royale, I'm not sure if it's still on. Can someone please shout that out in every screening at that point?
Cinema employees, get on board. That terrible bit where Richard Branson's in the metal detector at the airport just broke the whole reality of the piece.
I love that. We're going back to the gritty, original James Bond of the novels. Oh, celebrity cameo.
Oh, hello.
Here we go.
Spot your billionaire.
Did you guys watch any Crime Investigation Network over the weekend? You have that, don't you,
You know,
Rich?
was such a thing.
Yeah, it's on February 17, the man whose arms exploded.
Oh, that was the highlight.
is premiering.
It's all reenactments.
Oh,
it's all
what?
shallow bush graves.
Any counterfeiting?
Well, there's some good casino scams now and again.
I don't know if there's much of that in Police 10-7, which is my favourite
that?
show on the Crime Investigation Network. It's basically cops in New Zealand.
That'd be...
Yeah. It's pretty tough. Check it out.
Tonight on Police 10-7, Cooney officers are flat out dealing with the downside of ski town hijinks. And in Invercargill, Sam spits the dummy.
Well, you just can't take crime seriously when it's described as a hijink.
That's right. They're struggling to find serious crime to talk about. They're struggling to fill the series. It'll often be, tonight in Dargavor, a man spills his drink, and we go to investigate. And there's a lot of urinating in public.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the show seems to be urinating in public.
Steve then spots someone who's definitely not taking his waste with him.
Is there any particular reason why you're urinating here?
Left's just my age, for sure, mate. For sure, mate. Just on the way home, mate. Been back for a sleep, mate. Popped out, went for a piss. There you go.
And that lapse of judgment means Michael's ended up being printed and photographed and later fined $250.
Yes, be careful, be warned.
Crime wave.
Tell you what, his explanation is good. Going home for a sleep, mate. But just stop. Is that a defence in New Zealand?
I think that was actually one of the officers. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
right.
This is a bloke, Henry the Drunk, is my favourite
Henry the
character.
Drunk.
He actually...
A cop or a
I think we...
commissioner, Henry the Drunk?
When you're showing up on multiple episodes of a show like Cops, that's when it's time to have a long, hard look at your
Tell
life.
me, in the New Zealand version of Cops, because the best thing about the American one is when they show up to a disturbance and it's just a guy with his shirt off, Jack Daniels boxer shorts, just screaming about how you don't know him. You don't know me? Is there any of that?
It's sort of a lot more polite.
Oh, good.
Both police and criminals are a lot more polite. Let's meet Henry the Drunk.
Back at the station, Henry reveals that he's already had enough woman trouble tonight.
I was camping at a mate's house tonight. What happened was he accused me of trying to get with his woman because his woman was holding on to me. He just got up and said, get the out of my house before I pay you back, and he's a big boy. I wasn't even I don't even drive my own car because I have no license. But the reason was he thought I was fiddling with his woman. He thought I was with his woman and doing it with his woman.
On the fuddle.
Oh, man.
Fiddling with this woman. And good to admit, I don't have a license. Let's just get that on the table.
But he says
right
that I
away.
don't drive my own car because I don't have my license. Whose car do you drive? A Mr. Wibby van? I like it that the cop is taking it down. Sorry, you were fiddling. Good.
Well, how much did he have to drink, though?
I only had about a Woodstock bourbon and a half of those mixers, 8%ers.
1.5 now.
No, it was only most probably to about one. I just had a couple of glasses.
However many drinks Henry thinks he had is immaterial. The intoxilizer machine will reveal the actual amount of alcohol in his bloodstream. Although the number of bourbons he can recall drinking has suddenly increased.
I had 2 glasses and I was on my third glass and I got kicked out of the party.
A few minutes later, the machine reveals that while he might have saved himself from getting thumped by his mate, he's officially had too much to drive.
That one was 566, okay? The legal limit is 400.
So how do you feel about failing the test?
Oh, I feel pretty ratchet because it wasn't even meant to be. I didn't plan on being out on the road tonight, you know?
Later in court, he was fined $500 and disqualified from driving for a further 6 months.
Wow. I felt pretty wretched.
It's already disqualified. You've lost your license. I've already lost it. All right, another 6 months. All right, can I have a bourbon?
You're not going to be not driving anymore.
So hang on. So he had one of those 8%ers.
Yeah.
Then he had 10?
I
Did
don't
we end
know.
up at 10 at the end?
I couldn't keep up with the tally.
When he said he got kicked out of the party, wasn't he just at his friend's house trying to touch up his wife?
I think he may have been.
What kind of party is that?
What really separates it from cops shows from around the world is the politeness. They're such polite Kiwis.
Okay.
Just have a listen to how polite these cops are.
It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon in South Auckland and Constables John Chappell and Catherine Ellis have been called to a disturbance.
We're just on our way to a bit of disorder in Otahu. There's a report of 20 to 30 males fighting in the street. They're throwing a few road signs around and generally acting in a disorderly manner.
After a gang fight, someone has taken refuge in the local sandwich bar.
Yeah, could we have a bit of a hand here?
John has to quickly defuse this situation. He singles out the ringleader.
Hey, who's got the hammer?
Yeah, 20 or 30 people having a bit of a riot. I'll just pop down and say a couple of words to them.
Do you think that all the place names in New Zealand are made up? Because it seems as though they're getting there. It's like, there's a disturbance in Blue Blue. Yeah, all right, we'll go there.
You can talk, Australia.
What I like about Police 10-7 is that all the faces are blurred. Because, in the UK,
That's right.
Are they?
all the faces are blurred.
The host of the show is blurred. It's such a small country. It's only like the
million.
population. It's 4 now.
Oh, okay.
It's the same as Melbourne. That's what people don't realise.
Yeah.
So you're going to there's Barry on the cop show again.
Right.
So pretty much everybody's pixelated.
Eventually you're going to be on there.
Here's another one of our polite cops. Listen to this.
We're going to be charging with unlawful takes of the motor vehicle, theft of the petrol, failing to stop, reckless driving, and of course he's got the 6 warrants as well.
That's right. You can join the police force at 8 now. In New Zealand.
Well, he's got the 6 warrants as well. Murder 1. Does anyone know what that is?
Not really.
Oh, right.
Anyway, that is Police 10-7. You can see that on the Crime Investigation Network on Foxtel.
When we come back,
The driver of a dodgy car in Rotorua is in deep trouble.
Oh, that'll be a 2-parter, I reckon. They'll spread that over weeks.
What does he mean by a dodgy car?
Might just be a brown one.
A push bike with a lawnmower engine in the back that he's put seats in? It's an 8-seater lawnmower bike?
Scott Edgar is here from Tripod, and when he comes in, the talk turns nerdish. What have you brought with you?
Look, I just was worried that you might ask me for my nerd credentials again.
Yeah, okay,
fellas.
let's see
So
'em.
let me take you through this. This is a gem of my comic book collection. It is something that I drew when I was at university.
Oh, you drew
yeah,
this?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
it
great.
and it was a
You
page
win.
in the back of a monthly magazine about Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, wow.
That was my university. There you go, fella.
It's called Australian Realms Presents The Adventures of... I can't read
It
that
says
word.
the A-Team.
Oh, the A-Team.
But it's written
There's
kind of
no
like
relation.
Narnia. And that
It's
sort
on
of
a scroll.
font.
It took me
Yeah.
ages. I can't believe you can't read that.
Now,
Yeah.
which one of these people is you? The big hunky blonde guy?
I just got sent the stories and drew them. I feel that there's a bit of me in each of them, especially the skinny wizard with the mohawk. There's
I
a
didn't
photo
realise
of me.
you were Tony Martin when you were at university.
That's true.
That's going on the website.
What
That
I
is
love
amazing.
is that Scott was at the same barbecue me and Marsden were yesterday, and both of us have got the not used to being outside sunburn.
Yeah, I've come in with the inverted T-shirt look.
Did you hear this sentence every 5 minutes when you were a kid, Scott? Scott, what are you doing inside on such a nice, hot, sunny day?
All the time.
That
all
was
the
just
time.
a motto. My mother should have just had that on a T-shirt.
I actually, speaking of being inside on a nice day, I won the Australian Open yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, on my couch.
Oh, good
It
work.
was a big day. It was a big day. A lot of work went into that.
This describes you. The note here describes you as next to the picture of Tony Martin. Scott is a 21-year-old illustrator and theatre designer.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't know you were a theatre designer.
Well, I was at uni. That's what I planned to
what
be.
Did you? What are we talking? Which productions did you design?
I actually did a production of what's the one with the talking plant?
Little Shop
Little
of
Shop of
Horrors.
Yeah.
You know, over
Seymour.
Yeah,
But
I
how
wasn't in. Oh no, I was the set designer.
Surely you should have been the Rick Moranis character.
I was also part of the production design team of the 1990 winning entry in the Rock of Stedford. I don't know if I talked about
What
this
was the
last
song?
year. Last time I was here. It was a Scottish Highland battle reenacted to the tune of Duran Duran's Wild Boys.
As it should be. As it should
People
be.
lashed the windmills?
No, but there was an actual cart on stage. You know.
That is
Yeah.
gold. You know, I'm going to take points off that comic that you brought in because
Why?
it's not in a special transparent envelope.
That's true.
No, this is my copy that I take out into public. I've got another one at home.
I bet you have. Dobbing a nerd. And we've got to dob ourselves in first. Here's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm watching Foxtel. I'm watching the Showtime network a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Looking for straight-to-video Steven Seagal films. Because remember, there was some point, I think it was shortly after Half Past Dead, which I think is my favourite movie title of all time, that they stopped coming out in the cinemas and they went straight to video, but there was a lot more of them.
Yeah, so many.
He's making 6 or 7 films a year at
He's
the
got
moment.
3 in production at the moment. The best one is the one he's setting in New Orleans, starring him and hopefully B.B. King.
Oh,
No.
wow.
Really?
Oh, no, they'll be playing guitar together because he's got a blues
He's
band
got a
now.
blues
Oh,
band.
no.
I like a martial arts expert with a work ethic. You know, good on him, eh? He's taking his cues from the Bollywood sort of world.
He has said that he now wants to be known as a great writer and actor, and I quote, not just a sex symbol.
But the one that they're running at the moment on Foxtel, check it out if you can, is...
On Deadly Ground?
No, that's come out in cinemas. I'm talking Today You Die.
Oh, dear.
And I
What's
think
going-
the opening scene is Steven Seagal, very subdued lighting so you can't see the gut, breaking into a mansion with a torch and looking around, and his opening line is, looks like the drug dealing business is doing pretty good.
And did that line wake up drug deal? You want to hear something?
There's about another 10 minutes of just searching.
Oh, right.
There's not a lot of budget in these
No.
straight-to-videos. But they still do that thing because he's got a dodgy hair transplant and he's always filmed in this weird lighting where the light just stops above his eyebrows.
Letterbox.
And you never get a close look at the top of his head.
No.
He's always in subdued lighting. And then in this one, he goes to jail and then they're in the most brightly lit prison yard imaginable. But when they cut to him, suddenly he's found a bit of shade. And you still can't see what's going on the top of the head.
warden holding a parasol above him.
That's pretty nerdy. Ed Cavalier, try and impress Scott.
Scott, I went to America.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I went to New York, did some cool stuff, saw some sport, man.
So that's not nerdy.
No, but here we go.
Okay.
But before that, to balance things, I went to the Television Museum.
Right.
Ryan Shelton told me you could go and pick some things.
That's great. You sit in a booth.
You sit in the
You
booth.
what?
You go around
To
the other
watch.
side of the world to watch TV. It's fantastic.
But anything you want. They've got everything that's ever been to air.
Really?
And you can pick what you want. Problem is, you can only pick 2 things.
Yeah.
So I went with the Observer,
Yeah.
right? And I said to the lady, "It's not very busy. May I
Yeah.
have 4 hours, please?" And she said, "Yes."
Right.
So we watched the pilot episode of The Wonder Years.
Oh,
Great.
Oh, yes.
Still stands up.
Yeah,
Still
really?
stands up.
Pre-upskirting Fred
Pretty
Savage.
upskirting. He had that look about him, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was could go at any minute.
Child celebrity.
You know what they're like.
Yeah, yeah.
They think upskirting is their right. And then we watched the pilot episode of Conan, the first night Conan did on the Tonight Show.
yes.
Conan, I thought you meant Conan the Barbarian. I was about to say there was a television series.
He had a chat show.
That would have been great. Uncompromising.
And then,
Guests often cleaved in half, still tested well.
and then I had 2 hours left over, so I watched in its entirety the whole 1994 World Cup final, which I've already
No.
seen 3 times.
Really?
You're at
So
You're at
good.
the TV museum and you
Yeah.
choose something you've already seen about 4 or 5
Wow.
times.
That's pretty nerdy.
Fantastic.
So
Do
good.
they bring peanuts in for you or anything?
No, but they told me to be quiet once.
Really?
No,
Why?
just a bit. I went, oh! at something and someone went, shh.
I am very keen to see how Richard Marsland is going to top these stories.
Yeah.
For Christmas, a friend gave me, with great fanfare and excitement, a signed copy of Alan Alda's autobiography.
Oh, that's good.
Is that nerdy?
It's kind of nerdy.
It's called Never Have Your Dog Stuffed, and it's about 3 pages in before he bitches about not having an Oscar.
There we go. Doesn't take long.
But it's great.
The listeners can go way better than this. Justin, what's happening?
I'm diving myself in.
Good.
In my hand, I'm holding a Dalek bottle opener that screams out "exterminate" when you use it.
Oh, keychain.
Now, Justin, I assume you realise that we'd like a demonstration.
Of course. I'll just hold it up to the phone now. And it...
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
Yes.
Well done,
That's
sir.
authentic.
Does it pull the chicks?
No, not really.
Okay.
Does it only open soft drinks?
Thank you very much, Justin. One of us. Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm dobbing myself.
What do you got?
All right, well, my life basically revolves around 2 things, that being Pokemon and The Legend of Zelda.
Respect, brother.
I recently bought a Nissan S-Cargo that is completely airbrushed from top to bottom in Pokemon murals. And
that's
I'm a big fan
nerdy.
of murals on cars.
I thought Pokemon had finished.
Oh, no, it's still going strong.
Okay.
In my heart, at least.
Oh,
That's an interesting mix of nerdiness and sort of Aussie bogan paint your car with a mural sort of vibe.
Oh, and
Any-
also, I've started my own little Zelda posse called the Old On Village Farm Boys. And we've got T-shirts that we rock when we go out and stuff. So, yeah, it's nerd fest.
Do you ever get into fights with rival gangs?
Oh, yeah, sometimes the Gerudo Valley crew, try and bust some moves on us. But,
Yeah, you guys
we've
all
got
line
the power
up.
of the Triforce.
You guys all line up in the streets and show each other your stats.
Hello, Paul.
I'm afraid I have to dob in myself. I am such a Quentin Tarantino nerd.
Yeah.
I have no less than 8 different copies of Reservoir Dogs on DVD and video.
Oh, now have you gone for the multicoloured covers, the Mr. Brown version, the Mr. Blue version?
Absolutely.
We're just going to let you and Tony have some private time now.
This is where they put out the same movie with 5 different covers in the hope that someone would then buy it 5 different times, and they've struck gold by the sounds.
I am that man.
Hey, Paul, have you thought about a chin implant at all?
Yeah, I'm thinking of getting one and adding about a foot added to my height.
There we go. Thank you, sir. Let us know when it goes
I
through.
kept trying to think of lines from Reservoir Dogs to say, but I couldn't think of any we could say.
So was I. Hello, Nick.
Well, I'll take on that guy's Dalek while I'm wearing my Dalek T-shirt signed by 3 Doctor Who and Joe Grant.
Really? Paul
Wow.
3 Doctor
Who have you got? Paul McGann?
No, I've got Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy.
Nice.
Class
Yeah.
6 and 7.
But none of the really big guns.
No, John
No.
Pertwee, for example.
No Tom Baker.
No Tom Baker.
Although I've got a Tom Baker toy.
Life size?
No, unfortunately.
You better watch it going out on the street with such an item, such an artifact on. You might get rolled by those Zelda guys.
You'll be mobbed.
I got to watch myself.
You'll be mobbed. Thank you, Nick. Hello, Tristan. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm not too bad.
Ooh.
Say no more. His name is Tristan.
Yeah, well done. Hey,
You win.
Oh, hey, what are you dobbing in, brother?
Yeah, it should be me, but I'm actually going to dob in a mate of mine.
What's he got?
Well, what he does, he likes to emboss his university logo in the back of every document he produces.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow, that's
How
scary
does he
news.
even do that?
Yeah, I tried to work out how he does it, but I still haven't got it, so...
He's got some sort of lithograph?
Tristan, let's name him.
It's John Howard,
What's
isn't it?
Yeah. What's his person's name?
His name's Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. I was hoping for a last name. I really was. But that's okay. Thank you, Tristan. Oh, Andrew, you're last, and talk us through it.
Okay, this was a few years back. Before the movie came out, I started an internet rumour about Star Wars Episode 2.
Oh, and you caught on. It spread like wildfire?
What was the rumour?
Like wildfire. I don't want to talk myself up, but it spread like wildfire.
What did you say?
You remember Christopher Lee's character in the film?
Yes.
Count Dooku. I came up with an idea that his lightsaber, the colour was like a flame, so it was called the Flame Saber.
Yeah.
And people bought that.
And people bought it, and they even came up with the idea that it would make a whoosh sound when it ignited.
Oh, they're already going further, working out what sound it's going to make.
That's right. And they found an emblem on Boba Fett's armour that looked like a flame saber.
Wow. Look, it's a shared mythology, isn't it?
You know, if we had prizes, would that be our winner?
Yes.
Starting an internet rumour about Star Wars 2. It's going to be good! Never proven! The other story that we haven't had time to get to today is Rafe Fiennes
What's he up
ducking
to?
into an airplane toilet to allegedly have a tryst with some sort of stewardess. I'm not sure what the correct terminology is.
Qantas hosty.
Hosty, okay.
Does that mean boy or girl?
Could be anyone. Could be anyone.
It was a lady, apparently.
It's a long flight, you know what I mean?
Who's the hostie on this show? Is there a hostie?
Yeah.
Everyone looked at Richard.
Everyone looked. I reckon he is the host. We go to the ads, and he's gone to me, oh, was I too harsh calling that guy whose name was Tristan a nerd?
Yeah.
Shock jock
I felt
Richard
bad.
Marsland.
Yeah. You're edgy.
I insult people and then apologise.
No,
It's
you
new
do.
kind of radio.
The hostie is ducked in the toilet and then finds is squeezed in after it. Do you think just it was embarrassment because one of his films was about to come on, was made in Manhattan, about to be screened? Oh, I can't sit through this.
I've heard that goes on a lot. If you're like a high flyer, like a well-known person, and you're on the planes, that it's all on.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. I heard that from a host on a cross flight.
I was once on the same flight as Gene Simmons.
Oh.
I didn't know until then, but I noticed all the hostesses were sort of, hanging around at the front and sort of sitting on someone's lap up there.
Oh,
Seriously.
yeah.
It was a Virgin flight.
Not
and
for long.
And then we walked out in the airport and there were 8 young ladies in bikinis with Gene Simmons makeup on, all standing in formation, ready to greet him.
Wow.
It's an exhausting mile-high schedule.
What a life.
For Gene Simmons. Circle the airport. Haven't got through all of them. Here's something short. Ron Jeremy. Well, not Ron Jeremy himself, obviously. He's got a bio out called The Hardest Brackets Working Man in Showbiz.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
Yep.
He's out of the blocks, that Ron Jeremy.
Good effort.
And the Entertainment Weekly magazine has got a fantastic feature where they've got a bunch of lines or quotes, claims from the book, and you have to see if you can guess who they're referring to.
Let's go.
So do you want to have a crack at that?
Sure.
Here's a quote from Ron Jeremy. Not what you'd call a bashful man. He loved naked women, and he had an affinity for loose-fitting outfits that left very little to the imagination. Who's he talking about there?
Liberace.
No.
Rich?
I'm going to say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No.
Oh, nice Kareem reference.
That's way too long.
That's not helping with our running time.
Who was it?
I'm going to guess Brian Dennehy, just for my own amusement. That was wrong as well.
The answer was?
Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah!
He loves a loose-fitting outfit and a nude woman. Here's a quote from Ron Jeremy. I have paid for sex only once in my life, and it was all his fault. I'm guessing Richard Marsland. Who was it?
I'm still going Liberace.
These are way too long.
They're not testing very well.
Who is it?
Ted Koppel.
It's Charlie Sheen.
Oh,
That's who it would
Master.
be.
Yeah.
If a woman wants to see my pecker in the flesh, then the least she can do is flash me her boobies. She once took me up on that offer.
Mother Teresa.
Oh, no, that's just... Could it be Penelope Keith? No, of course it's not. We don't have enough brass instruments for this segment. Who do you think that's referring to?
Nigella Lawson.
Oh, it's not a bad guess.
That's
mate.
close.
no.
Can I have another crack?
Who?
Dame Judi Dench. Helen Mirren. Come on. One of them. John Gielgud.
Is this counting as a song?
Kenneth Branagh. Jeremy Irons in a bra.
It's Paris Hilton, of course it was. Let's talk about crime. Now, yesterday, of course, we know what the big issue is.
The idea of a soft drink police force is just over the top.
Over the top.
Certainly is.
People are saying, what about other police issues, guys? That's ridiculous, just focusing on soft drinks. What about police corruption? That's all about.
Thank you very much for coming along this afternoon. My name is Senior Sergeant Major of the Major Crimes Senior Sergeant Squad. And before you proceed with your inquiries, let me just allay your fears. Soft drinks in schools, we're onto that.
Yes, but what about this?
No. Please, let me just say, soft drinks in schools, no longer a problem. If there's something going on in schools to do with soft drinks, push the snooze button because we're already ahead of you and it's sorted.
But what about these allegations of corruption that leads to
Sorry,
the highest...
is there something about that in the paper?
It's all over the papers today.
Well, see, I don't bother to read the newspapers. I mean, I'm pretty, snowed under with the whole soft drinks thing at the moment. And
what about the allegation that police corruption is endemic in this state? The Marsden Commission has stated...
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess that's one view. But if you're as concerned about soft drinks in schools as I am, maybe you'd be perhaps a little bit more considerate of others, like, say, myself and the work I'm doing to stamp out abuse of...
Soft drinks, perhaps?
Yes, that's right. Soft drinks. Yeah, I know. Have a laugh. And then, when you've stopped laughing, look at the shattered remains of your credibility as a soft drink hits you in the head.
Yes, but what are you doing about the Sanchez report?
Well, see, I'd love to answer that question, but you've just told me that the soft drink problem is my problem. So I guess the rest of my day is going to be devoted to cleaning up that mess, while you dilly-dally off on your own merry way to Noddyland.
This report says that you yourself are directly linked
hang on.
to payment.
Listen, can you hear... Bang! Did you hear that? That was a soft drink hitting you in the head.
What are you going to do?
No, see, you're not... No, see, if that happened, you wouldn't be asking me this question. You'd be saying, oh, that's concerning. Why wasn't I paying more attention when that man was talking about his soft drink awareness program, instead of nattering on with my other question about police corruption? Is that part of my face on the ground? Because I was so ill-prepared for the soft drink menace when it exploded in my face.
Look, if we could get back to the Marsland report...
Why is there a soft drink machine at this press conference? Couldn't that have been moved out under the stairs or something? Because it's kind of at odds with what I'm trying to say here.
Get rid of that machine, move it outside.
Sorry, does someone here just open a soft drink?
It's just a mellow yellow.
Great. Okay. No, fine. Thanks very much. I'll be out the back working on my soft drink awareness program. Which, no, you're not interested. Fine.
Thanks for coming, everyone, this afternoon. Can I just say soft drinks are being served in the foyer?
I heard that. Why is it always getting back to this soft drink problem?
No idea. It's out there, Tone.
I've got to read this Marsland report.
Or is it in the Sanchez report? Because I got confused. It's probably the same thing, actually.
I think it might be. Hopefully, later in the show, we'll have the latest news on the...
Nappy-wearing astronaut Lisa Nowak.
Con man Peter Foster.
Yeah.
Who else have we got? There's someone else. Jihad Jack.
Jihad Jack, good old Jihad.
Just regularly called Jihad Jack on the news now.
Sheikh Halali's
They never said
wrestling name?
The Mufti of Meat, wasn't he that?
He was the Mufti of Meat.
I think he was in one broadcast. And now just openly referred to as nappy-wearing astronaut.
That's terrible.
Isn't that every astronaut, though, technically?
But not once they get down from space. They leave the nappies up there. She's learned something up there. Over at That's Life, it's $50. Any picture you can take of your dog, just put a tea cozy on it, send it into That's Life. I was trying to work out how many of those magazines give away money. That's Life do. Take 5 do.
Penthouse Forum.
Penthouse Forum, definitely.
Yeah.
Is that still going, Penthouse Forum?
Well, as far as I know, and I know there's a couple of writers, like really great Australian writers who, during a dry spell have sent in, I'm not sure about,
Tim Winton.
who have to sort of get some money for the rent, have done a couple of forums.
Tim Winton would never begin a story with, I never ever thought this would happen to me. Our guest co-host today is a personal friend of...
Nappy-wearing astronaut Lisa Nowak.
It's Greg Fleet!
She ain't coming at me with no papato sprasso.
Greg, you're hatching a phone today.
I am. We had a little moment there, Ed and I, where we were about to go to air, and I looked at my phone, panicked, and put it under my bottom.
Oh, okay.
That will
catch on. Everyone will be doing it.
Baffle the noise.
We love
and
it.
baffle you.
We love some bafflement. Now, last time you were in, you were claiming that you were heading off to, let's not beat around the bush, rehab.
I like to say a place.
Yes.
I'm going to a place.
We had a lot of people call up and fax in and email and
saying, will he pay me back before he goes?
wishing you support. In between the masses and masses of emails from Hinder fans. There was quite a few pro-fleet calls. So good luck to you, sir. When are you off?
I believe I'm going on the 19th. Look, I'll probably stay there until, I feel I've helped those people enough.
Okay. They need your help.
Yeah, I think it'll be a 4-week thing. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I've asked them and they said it's okay if I ring in like once or twice a week and just do a bit of a diary.
Right.
Yes. I don't think they understand fully. I think they thought you were the other Tony Martin and it would be really serious. And you'd be wearing a dog collar. But so I'll call in and just go, this is what it's like.
Yeah, we've also got Lindsay Lohan calling it.
Yeah, she's almost dead.
Yeah, well, $26,000 a week will do that. That's apparently she's at a rehab like around Byron, and it's really expensive, $26,000 a week. And what they do is they don't exist anywhere. They get a house put you in there, do the rehab there. Then when it's all over, it's like the A-team. They just bust it down and move out.
Is it called Ripley's Get Off the Gear or Not?
Get off the gear or not.
No, I think Lindsay Lohan is at the rehab facility, the one in Los Angeles. What's it called? The Viper Room.
Yeah.
Oh!
I claimed the other day, who was doing this? Andrew Powell said that her publishers told her the way you spell the word is Pffffft.
Oh, yeah.
That's how that's spelled. And then I said, there was a movie called that, made in the 50s. Look it up in Landon Moulton. Everyone looked it up, wasn't there.
Oh.
Got the name slightly wrong. The name is actually all in caps, Phfft. 1954. And, they were able to put out a film with the
What's
title.
it about? A man with a large anus
It's
produces gas.
That's exactly what it says. No, it's
Eddie Albert.
A Saucy Sex Romp
Yep.
by George Axelrod.
I like to not.
Axelrod, yeah.
I like to keep my and sex romps kind of separate.
I think George Axelrod may have written Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Really?
Yeah, he
really?
went on to Breakfast at Tiffany's from...
Not the novel of Breakfast at Tiffany's, the
he wrote the film
the
of it.
screen.
And I think he then, the next year, wrote The Manchurian Candidate. That was a pretty good film, but it was no...
Yeah. He then jumped the shark by writing Australian film. Yeah. And no, he wrote the Aussie film Pacific Banana.
Oh, yes.
It all went downhill from there.
But I'm just seeing his age. Come on, George, when are you going to give us another... One of those. Who's this bloke Ian Healy? I've never heard of him.
Australian wicketkeeper,
Yeah.
Queensland wicketkeeper, really good wicketkeeper.
Well respected?
Extremely well respected. Got really amazing hands, just like, fingers at joints at right angles to each other.
Really?
Amazing wicketkeeper, though.
And this violin business?
Out of character.
Really? So, explain what's happening. Somebody's on the field with, is it a field or a pitch?
They're out there playing.
Someone's got a pink-handled cricket bat.
Matthew Hayden and Andrew Simons, two of our batsmen.
Raising money for cancer.
Yes.
Okay, good thing to do.
Great thing to do. One of them's injured, so he's sitting in the commentary box, Andrew Simons, talking about why he's doing it. While he's doing that, Healy's playing a bit of air violin.
The old air violin.
Yeah.
Now, what did he say his excuse was?
He was winding him up because it was blokes using pink-handled bats.
Right, but you wouldn't. Doesn't make sense. You wouldn't use the air violin. You'd go the air, Mr. Humphreys.
Yeah, you would.
Ooh, that's the standard offensive hand gesture for those situations.
That'd be standard practice. Maybe a mince about if you really wanted to make your point.
And it was interesting when Hills was apologising on the news for the
Heels,
incident.
you guys friends?
Yeah, when Ian Healy was apologising, the newsreaders were actually playing the air violin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was rather mean, I thought.
Okay, so that's a bit of a faux pas, is that the word? We've talked about it before where you do something and then in your head you can hear this music come in. The Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. That's pretty much the score to my entire life. I'll give you one.
Come on, what do
The
you got?
Scared Weird Little Guys.
Oh.
You couldn't meet two nicer blokes in the world.
Extremely nice guys.
They seem to write about 100 songs a week.
Yeah.
They just bash them out.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They're always in here at the station in the boardroom playing songs and guitar and things up.
Yeah.
I don't really hear the songs. They're on in the morning.
No.
We're usually busily raking through episodes of Police 7 for...
Someone has to.
For people using the word ret shot. Yeah. So we don't get to hear the songs.
Yeah.
And so I've never really said anything to them.
No.
And then one day I'm walking up the corridor and I hear a particularly funny song that they've done about a suburb.
Oh, yes.
And I've gone, I'll finally go and say something to them.
You're a nice
I walk
guy.
in, oh, scaredy, heard the song this morning, hilarious. And they've gone, yeah, that was one that was actually written by a listener. Ouch! Like they've done 700,000 songs. First one that's a cover version.
And you're
you know,
in
it's
there.
like going up to Evan Dando and going, "Oh, that Mrs. Robinson song you did. That's your best one." Oh, there's a 90s reference.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Have you heard that music coming in, Ed?
Oh, well, you said you started talking violins.
Yeah.
And I realised that when I was in New York, I thought I'd better go and see some classical, apart from the 8-year-old playing electric keyboard at the Knicks. So I went and saw a friend of ours doing a dueling Bach piano deal.
One piano with two keyboards?
See, Tone, that's what I said.
Billy Joel, Elton John?
Welcome to my world. Because I said to the guy, when he goes, we'll be playing two pianos, we're in like the, swankiest swank hall that ever swanked.
Yeah.
And I said, really? Like Billy Joel and Elton John? crickets.
Oh.
And then he said, no, more like Brahms and some other old dude I had no idea
Just
about.
cue it up again if you could, Richard.
Yeah.
And then you're telling the story on air, and then I come in with the punchline early.
And then,
ouch!
But I got him back though, because I slept through the whole thing.
Got that, loser.
Did not wake up for a bar of it.
Richard Marsland,
Well,
surely your life.
I'm going to have to drop another name here, if you don't mind.
Do it.
Scott Edgar, illustrious member of the wonderful group Tripod.
Correct.
I saw him at Carl Wilson's engagement party yesterday, and I
Yes.
said, "G'day, Gatesy."
That's always good.
Nice. Good stuff.
Could have been worse. You could have said, "G'day, Richard Feidler." Oh, that would have gone down even worse. Ouch!
A girl came up to me in a bar recently and said, "Are you Ed from the radio and from Thank God?" I said, "Yeah, that's me."
Sorry. That usually would bring it in.
And she goes, "Do you know?" And she turns to her friend and goes, "He does look much more normal in real life."
I'm sure the listeners have done things to set off. If you haven't seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's a show where a guy just constantly cocks
Can't
up.
help himself. Hi, Ross. How are you?
G'day, Ed. How we going, boys?
Thank you, sir. What happened?
I used to work at a video store about
Well done.
4 years
Yes.
ago.
Which
Thank
one?
you. Video Easy.
Good effort. How long did you work there for?
Oh, about 6 years.
Ah, now we're talking.
And
All right.
which celebrity did you like to park your car in the space of?
Halle Berry.
Which one?
Halle Berry.
Oh, they've given us space to Halle Berry now.
That's
Who did
it.
she take the place of? Demi Moore, I'm guessing?
Demi Moore's got nothing. Come
Yeah,
on,
it's
guys.
got nothing. Not since One Crazy Summer. Hey, Ross.
Yes.
What was your never fail recommendation for people that wanted one? Your old weekly. What did you dish out?
Just anything that was new releases.
You're working for the man, Ross.
Look, whenever you had your good customers in, you'd recommend them the good stuff. But
Yeah,
when it
that's
was
true.
someone else that just wanted something quick, new releases all the time.
Seagal. They go with some Seagal. What happened, bro?
Well, I hadn't seen this guy in for a while, and the time he came in after about a year, we had to ask for his password and
Yes.
ID to make sure it was the right guy
Yeah.
using it. And I asked for his password in front of his girlfriend, and it turns out the password he gave was his ex-girlfriend.
Ross, in my 8.5 years in the video store industry, I can guarantee that is a death nail for any relationship.
Oh,
Anyone
great.
out there, this is a message from Ross and myself to the people of Australia. If you're going out with someone, do not make them your video store password. You will break up.
That's it.
They don't love you.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Ross.
I think the phrase is death knell, not death nail. That's like my Tartier control the other day.
Hello, James.
G'day, Ed. How you going?
Well, I'm getting told off for me grammar and that. So, what happened with you, bro?
I had a school teacher who had a glass eye. She was our science teacher, should I say, and she was doing chemical equations on the blackboard involving lithium plus something else equals something. And I shouted out, "Where did you get the eye from?" Completely unknowing.
Oh, where did you get the eye from?
James, the best thing about that is it's like you finally snapped. Like she was just calmly writing things on the board and you couldn't take it anymore.
And did she turn around and give you a half icy stare?
Yeah, pretty much. I got into some serious trouble about it, and it was a complete faux pas.
It wasn't your fault. Not your fault. Could have happened to anyone. Thank you, James. Lastly, Christine, how are you?
I'm really good.
Faux pas?
Faux pas.
What happened?
I returned back to New Zealand in a little country town, and I was in a butcher shop, and I noticed a girl I went to school with, and I was waving. It was a crowded butcher shop, actually.
Yes.
Waving and saying, hi, how are you? You know, didn't you see me? And she was blind. She had a stick.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't to know. And can I ask, what small New Zealand town was this?
It was a little place called Warkworth.
Oh, Warkworth. I think that was on the New Zealand version of Cops last week.
A lot of people driving dodgy cars around there, is there,
Yeah.
Christine?
Yeah.
Really dodgy.
That's right. Someone was caught taping a show off the TV. That's a whole special next week.
Get this, it's blown out to 2 hours, 11 to 1 weekdays on the Triple M network.